Welcome back to the Intelligent Builder podcast, sponsored by Plutus Agents. Today, I'm joined by Carl Nelson, the co-founder of Visual PNW, a Seattle area residential design firm built on simple idea to fix the home building experience by fixing the process. So he sharpened his craft in high-end remodels, then served overseas, and spent over a decade orchestrating national rollout programs for brands like Starbucks and McDonald's. He's now channeling that experience into residential design rooted in process and coordination. So, Carl, it's great to have you on.
Owen, thanks for having me.
Of course, yeah. So could you give us the quick arc? So you started your career in residential, then, did those 10 plus years in corporate retail programs, and then now you're back into residential. So what was that kind of why now moment?
The reason why I kind of started this was, just why now is, I think we were tired of where I was before. I think a little bit kind of and just kind of looking to where we could take some of the things that Starbucks had done and and impact an industry in a positive way. And so like the why now was not necessarily like a big decision to like let's do this thing now. It was really as a circumstance of COVID and having to lay 20 guys off and kind of being in a spot where like, okay, what am I doing now? And so it was kind of almost, somewhat just forced upon my hand to like decide to do this more than like let's go do this. So like that's kind of how it kind of came to be originally, I guess.
Okay, so you're a little bit forced into the change. Okay,
Yeah.
so what about maybe practices from when you were kind of running those rollout programs at Starbucks, McDonald's? How does that map to the custom homes and design that you're doing now?
Yeah, I would say you mentioned the whole arc of like kind of my career is kind of pointed to me like to like what we're doing now, like starting early on and just in my first architecture firm out of high school because I knew CAD. And so like a part of that kind of journey in my first job was, the architect I'd worked for was still hand drawing and just trying to figure out CAD. And he just hired a young kid, local kid out of high school who also knew CAD. So like, I kind of helped in like a transition like from a hand drawing world to a CAD drawing world. And there was like that was a whole learning experience. At the same time, I'm learning like just like the basic core principles of architecture, and just like what it means to do like this job. And so like, kind of that change process from one way of doing to another kind of evolved to my next spot where it was like, high-end residential in Seattle, doing lots of cool projects in the city, like some like grunge stars and kind of titans of the like late 90s, early 2000s, worked on some house really cool things. But like that was also like an old school small architect who was kind of using CAD, but very much a lot of hand and old processes. So it was like building kind of changing kind of from the old way of doing into like some new thing. So yeah, like that. So that kind of like process and mindset of like, looking to like improve the process of what we do. It's kind of always been there throughout my career. I mentioned like I took a year off and served in the military. And then when I came back from that experience, like that's kind of where I was like just looking for a different experience outside of the first like 10 years of my residential like young career. So I kind of moved into the commercial world where I got to work for McDonald's and Starbucks as kind of primary clients for a dozen years for the firms I was working for. And so that's kind of where some of the like doing this at scale really stepped in.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so it seems like each experience translated in a way to the next. So it was a pretty
Yeah.
solid flow.
Yeah.
So could you kind of define what you do now at Visual PNW? So just kind of explain what you do and then the deeper coordination beyond, the traditional plans of design, build, and custom homes.
First off, like we're just another kind of design consulting studio in the space, like trying to like make our mark. We have some certain style aesthetics and certain ideas about that come into play. So we're just another company still struggling to like doing just actual projects. So like that's for 5 years. It's just a tough kind of we've gone through the learning curve of like just that. But like and so like as we're going through just everyday projects like everyone else, we're trying to apply these principles to them as we go through them. And so some of that just starts with just back end tracking and scheduling and process. But the big part of the shift that we're seeing and that we're working toward has to do with just like materials and purchasing and how you get from an idea of one material, how do you get that approved, ordered, delivered on site, kind of in a like a succinct manner. And that's kind of really the big kind of like thing we're working on is how that kind of material procurement process that's currently owned by builders right now.
Yeah, I think in our last conversation you mentioned something along the lines of residential being kind of the most inefficient corner of design and construction. So, and you mentioned materials. So, what is maybe a choke point that you would kind of fix first that you think could move the needle the most in that side of the industry?
I mean, the choke point is the handoffs between, the human handoffs between, that happen along the whole path of each material that you're like pick. And so I think the big shift that the industry has is that I don't think builders should be ordering materials anymore. I think that we're already facing this kind of labor crunch that kind of keeps talking around about not enough like skilled labor doing, all the things it takes to build and construct things. And so a part of like that is like more people, and that's one way to solve it. But the other way is just like different a whole different process. Yes, AI is going to help some of this, but like part of it is like, who should be doing what is kind of the part of it. And so if builders just have to show up and everything's there to build and shows up when it needs to be, then they can focus on kind of building, and things will build faster. Because right now, like most builders, are small businesses, so there is no purchasing department. Big builders have them, but most purchasing department is usually just one of the 3 or 4 guys in the company who's running to Home Depot that day, or getting online, sitting at their computer, which most don't like to do. And so like that's kind of where I think there's a big need.
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't have to do all the material side of things. They'd be much more efficient. But how would you say they can operationalize that without wrecking, say, GC margins or incentives?
I mean, I think, because typically they building that margin of 20 to 25% into those material costs, and that's kind of like seen as just part of their just revenue stream. And so I think that I'm not sure if everyone's actually looking to see how much time and effort it's actually going into doing that, and how much extra, like, versus I could probably build one more house a year, or half a house. Like, and if I could get another half a project in that year, like I think there's more value in that. Especially to the homeowners out there, and the consumers. There's definitely more value into that to them than like them marking up 25% on materials. Because I think homeowners see it. They see that, and they kind of say it's bullshit. Like, I mean, most of them do. Like, what do you mean 25%? I could go buy this, like, I mean, why? Like, and so I think, I think it is mostly justified though, because it is a lot of work and time and effort to like get a homeowner just to make a decision on what to buy, but like then to procure it, get it delivered, figure out where if it has to be stored somewhere or not, making sure they're on time. It is a lot of work, and so maybe it is worth 25% in the way we do it now.
Yeah, so it can be seen as making sense now, but there's definitely more efficient ways in terms of process to change that. And you were telling me in our last conversation as well about the kind of spec book that you're building that
Yeah.
runs through design and permitting and room level execution. So can you kind of give us the high level overview of what that is and what do you want it to be?
Yeah, I mean, spec books are very common in the commercial world, super high-end residential custom homes, and they're pretty much non-existent in kind of this world of having like what we call a spec book, which is essentially just a list of every single material that goes in the store. For people that don't know that like terminology, so we like to just call it a shopping list because that's what homeowners understand. This is the shopping list. So it's just a term that they really understand. So part of it is like some of the language. Well, that's a big part of the problem too. Is all the language we use in this industry is like we know it, but our customers don't. Like in Starbucks world, Starbucks knows the language because the people I work with at Starbucks know what I do. So a lot of our customers don't know what I do. So getting this to a shopping list makes sense to them. And within our shopping list, we can break it down by trade, by room, and so this kind of helps them workflow. But a part of the shopping list, there's always little pieces of that shopping list that need to be on the drawings because they have some kind of regulatory approval, like a Windows, the example. And there's needs to be certain energy credits, especially here in Washington State. There's to get certain amount of energy credits for however much square footage this project has. It's like Windows is one way we can get those energy credits. And so that same window thing has to go to the city. It also has to go to the window manufacturer. So that's kind of just shared points that have to like go within drawings and out to builders to get bid and installers. So I'm trying to like figure out like which of these data points have to go where kind of throughout the process, because there's so many different like handoffs between different people.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clarifying spec book too. It is
Yeah.
basically the shopping list.
Yeah.
So, in terms of what you're kind of building for, I guess the industry is it being built for a specific target market, or is it kind of broader in a way?
I mean, I think the target market definitely is like the lower half of small builders out there and small design firms, that's you know um I think that's really kind of the target that we're looking at, because you know I think that they're the ones out there renovating, and all of these homes that are 20 years older, which is the vast majority of homes are over 20 years, that all need a kitchen and bath remodel, all need something. And so I think that's kind of our target, because it's a harder solution to find. It's harder to try and kind of dig into this niche a little bit, like, but like I think that's kind of really our target, is like that's where the help's needed. That's where like homeowners are reaching out to kind of make sure their homes, are updated and last.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense too. We spoke a little bit about how the smaller, more craftsman builders have the wisdom, but are so inefficient they're only building one or two houses a year. How do you operate? How do you like what's the word? Maintain their quality while modernizing the process.
I mean, I think it's simply they're just not get if we can just not get them distracted with making sure like they have what they need for tomorrow, and tomorrow's there and they can just focus on building. I think that and right there solves a lot of the hassles of what's going on, because during COVID, I started my renovation of my house before COVID. We added about 500 square feet to my house, and I hired a builder, old school builder who I've used in other projects, just a couple old dudes that don't have spreadsheets. I have like 6 mil folders, each with every month stuffed with crinkled receipts. I mean, that was the experience I had. But great guys, great builders. And so I'm there every day, and I see them going to Home Depot every day, like just like sitting there deciding what they have for deciding what they need to buy tomorrow to like do tomorrow's work. And like it's happening like on a daily basis. And so like this same kind of like just like 1 week at a time, like is kind of like the way a lot of things function and operate kind of in that kind of small builder world. They do have the end goal in mind. They do have this kind of broader idea of where they're supposed to be, but like, in practicality, it's just like, what kind of things do I need, like, coming up in the next couple weeks?
Yeah, I can see how that kind of messes with the flow and takes up a lot of time. So how do you really see it working within those smaller? So they would go on there, find everything that they need, and have it ordered and delivered at certain points throughout the build. Is that kind of the idea there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at this, and you can, you can look at this, look forward, look forward, not think you scale these ideas like big enough, like there's, if we're doing a big major renovation that needs, we've already said all the things that need to be, we're warehousing this somewhere and dropping them off on sites like when they need it, because that's part of the problem, is like when you're looking at all the different material suppliers out there, they all come with their own like timelines, ways of ordering, how the turnaround times are, could be plus or minus a couple days to plus or minus 3 or 4 weeks, depending on what you buy and what's picked. And so like, the only real solution like that we see to that is all the it's just ordering everything way, way ahead of time, putting it somewhere. Like I don't know, like we can fixing the supply chain seems like an improbable task for me. Like you have to go to every single product and figure out like how do we make it a consistent, like I know what I get. Like there's some things that you can, but that's not everything. And so like if one piece of the whole puzzle is always inconsistent, then what? Like so the only thing we can do is order way ahead of time, and that is kind of what Starbucks does. Starbucks has a warehouse in every single city of when they do renovations. Everything comes there, it gets packaged up, and then gets delivered to site when it's needed. And so that's kind of like, that's like when you look out farther right now to kind of get there, I think it's just a lot of logistics, because each job site's so different. So like, where storage is, where you cutting tile, you have to have some area to cut stuff and to stage, and so like you're kind of having to figure out the logistics of each individual site, especially if you're dealing in the city. with like needing, now I'm getting right away permits and closing the parking stall. So like what's available to me is kind of different on each project. If I'm working in the suburbs or the city, so like, so long term we should warehouse and bring it in, but like right now we are trying to figure out the logistics on a side by side basis.
Yeah, it's definitely a fantastic vision and idea. How have you been kind of testing it? Have you been testing it internally?
Yeah, I mean, loosely, like it's been like, I mean, reinventing all the tools takes a lot longer than we thought of, like just like the basic stuff that we do as like architects, designers, like what, like just like rethinking. So that takes forever. So that took a while and just kind of slowly building this and just, but we've kind of got a couple just small like kitchen and remodels where we've kind of ordered the materials, so just kind of testing out some tools, like just really like really raw, like us, like, you know, first off, it's just getting to a point where I can find a builder and a homeowner that will let me like do it. Cause that's not the way it works like out there. So it's not the way I don't, so like I have a builder now that we're partnering with who believes in the mission that we're working with and is like he's from the tech world. He's not a builder. He's putting a team together. And so like, yeah, you guys order it because he recognizes that that's the material procurement process is challenging. It's like, yeah, you guys go figure it out. So that took a long time. So like, but coming up, we have 3 big projects in the coming year that will be like fully like kind of testing this out and kind of working through all this with everything. So we have one right now where the homeowners actually they're supposed to be making all their final decisions this week on everything. So that's the first thing is like, so that's kind of the first part of our journey is getting our homeowners to like go through the process of selecting, going to the shops and picking and touching and feeling. So that's kind of what we're in right now is like that selection process. So we're actively kind of like doing that part now. So the purchasing is supposed to happen and like end of this month, we'll start buying stuff and getting it delivered and figuring that out.
Okay, that's great. You got a solid partner. So I didn't actually realize the homeowner side of things. So it needs to be easy enough to use from a homeowner perspective to pick all of it. And then the more operational side is the builder themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, yeah. So the operational, so the selection process is key up front with the homeowner, but like now taking that and getting.
Okay, cool. So aside from the partnership you have now and some of the builds you have coming up, what's kind of next to really get the product and the technology moving forward? Is there anything you really need to get the ball rolling and begin developing, I know, long term, like a go-to-market strategy?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the go-to-market strategy is like it's not my realm of expertise, so that's kind of where I'm in the world of like kind of finding partners. And so like over the years I've been going to just kind of networking, kind of trying to meet the right people. And so I actually had a meeting this morning that we've met a few times with some software guys who know AI stuff way better than us. And so we're starting early conversations and looking through just what we have, because what we have is just like, a complex weave of spreadsheets linking to websites. And so we know what's the architecture behind. We're architects. So like this is what we've built. Like this is kind of our experience with architecture. So we kind of know the workflow, but now it's just getting someone to take that to make it more user friendly, turning it into a product we can take to markets. We're just starting the conversations now about like kind of taking what we have and making it something much more kind of sophisticated.
Awesome. So you were able to leverage your experience in like the real world architecture and building to have the idea, but the technical aspect is pretty tough. So you're looking for those technical partners to help you really build it out.
Yeah, yeah, because it's working for. I mean, we have it technically and functioning working for us, and so like it works for us really well. And so I think it can help scale us, but like to how does it like scale to like now we can sell it to other builders and we can so like that's kind of the next iteration of what we're working on. So I feel like, we've had some good conversations with some guys who are like fully on board, kind of feel like with kind of what we're doing and they kind of believe in it. So like we're kind of partnering with them to like, start building something. Kind of beyond that is finding money and finding investors, and I think, once, we're gonna build it, we're gonna test it. So we're gonna like, prove that it works, at the same time we're building it. So that's kind of the next big thing is, finding someone who believes in what we're doing and wants to give us a little money to keep pushing it forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing. That'd be really great to get you off the ground. In terms of testing and getting a larger testing base, are you trying to primarily focus in where you're like being local, or is it almost ready to branch out towards a national level?
No, I think for now it's just local because it's just, there's a lot of just eyes on that kind of have to happen in some of this. No, so that's like staying here in the greater Seattle market is great. But I think I think this is, once you kind of, it can expand all markets. Like there's not, it doesn't happen much differently everywhere else. It's just slightly variations based on market. Yeah. Right now, it's trying to stay here. If someone wants to take us somewhere else, we're happy to like go test in other places. But right now, like there's no real like currently, but long term, like yes, I think.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What do you think has to happen in the next year? So we'll say 2026, KPIs, product milestones, partner count to really make you call 2026 a win.
I mean, really, it's really for us right now. It seems to be challenged just to find the right projects, and so it seems like good-sized projects because those projects, help kind of feed us and pay our bills. So it has been a challenge to like just find the right projects lately. And so I don't know like what that is right now. Like there's a bunch, the world's a weird place sometimes right now. So like especially for homeowners is right now the best time to invest your money. I live in Seattle, so with the uncertainty with Amazon and AI, I think there's a little uncertainty just to like make that big investment in your house. So like there's still plenty of work out there. It just seems like right now. So that's kind of the initial like just concern right now is just like getting enough projects to kind of go. So like that's it. Like I think if we have enough projects, we've scaled up a process enough with just us, we could easily just double like what we did last year if we just had the project to do it. We couldn't have done it last year just because we weren't ready for it, but we have enough built and streamlined where we could easily just double what we did last year quite easily. Now it's just kind of feeding that funnel. It's the big thing.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it seems last year was slow from like an industry perspective, so things can definitely pick up. What about, I know you kind of, I don't know, insinuated it earlier, but like your mission's kind of tied to affordability in a way. So like doing things differently so homes cost less to deliver.
Yeah,
Where do you see process alone like shaving dollars off a project without compromising the quality?
I mean, it's everything. Yeah, I think that you're seeing well, you're seeing labor prices go up because of just the lack of good quality labor. You're seeing labor prices go up because the permitting process sucks and it's inconsistent. So like not knowing when I can start a project because I'm waiting for some unknown like approval date is tough on the scheduling things. So how do I schedule anything if I don't know day one? That's hard. Well, affordability is the biggest thing, and like I don't get to talk about it enough. And thanks for asking. But I think like you know, it's just not cheap to like do anything in house. I see people just trying to cut corners just to like get their house done, or you see lots of investors and flippers just cutting corners just because and so so the quality of houses is going down just because like process everything's just get so expensive, so everyone's just cutting corners and of a process that should work if everyone's doing it, so but it's too expensive. So like I think fixing the process is just one small piece of fixing the way we take care of homes and affordability, because like we just can't continue to like build the way we're doing. Like construction pricing is just continually going up. Like I read an article this morning where like just the efficiency rate of like they compared how long it took to build the like Empire State Building and how long it took to like build the latest skyscraper that's the same height. Like it's not faster, it's slower. Like is it better? I don't know. I mean, it's Empire State Building been around a long time, so so like there's just massively inefficiencies left and right, and so like it all comes to process in a different process, and so the only way to like yeah, so I think process is everything to do with like saving money and how much it take costs to like build and design and maintain and upkeep houses. So
Yeah, and that 20 to 30% like markup on the materials, your vision there is to almost get rid of that and have it
yeah,
done.
I mean it's a fixed service cost. I'm not sure what that we're kind of playing with what that looks like. We can apply a percentage to it, but I don't really like the percentage model because toilet's a toilet. Like, why should I make more money if you get a fancy toilet or less? Like, it doesn't matter to me. It's a service to provide. So what is that fixed service? What does that cost? So, it's kind of like if we can probably figure out the math at some point on what that fixed service would be based on kind of the collection of materials we're supposed to buy. Like, there's a formula there, but like, what is that? I don't know yet. But like, it's definitely less than 25 to 30%.
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about it just plainly like that, it seems like a lot. That's a pretty high markup. But like we were saying earlier, it can make sense in terms of how things are right now. But I will ask you one more question though. So where do you see residential, maybe design or custom homes going in 2026? Do you see any changes from the previous, say, 24, 25?
Not really. No, I mean, not really. No, like broadly, no. Like, I mean, I think we see all the Instagram and YouTube videos of like these cool new ways to build houses and build stuff, which is great, and which is very exciting to see. But like, we have a whole industry of like little small builders that have just been doing it the same way and kind of been learning kind of through, whatever guy did it before them. And so like, there's a big section of builders that just don't care, and they're happy building the way they're doing. So like there's this kind of like I mean, everyone's coming up with good ideas, but they're not figuring out like how do we actually get the guys doing it to like say, oh, that's cool, let's start doing it that way now. Like, how do I get a builder who's like, even a guy who's been doing it for 5 years who's just like, it could be it's just figured out how to do the same thing for five. Like, how do you like? I don't know. Like, it seems like we're not attacking like that enough and getting down to like boots on the ground, like figure out like how do we actually get these people to do it. So that's what we're trying to do is like actually work with builders and like because I'm out talking to subs as much as I can. Like, I'd rather talk to subs. I go to a job site, I go talk to subs and just like I can hear the problems like left and right. I go talk to like just the subcontractor. He's willing to just you give him a window to bitch about something, it's golden learning. So like that's what I think a lot of the solutions of like looking down to like the small business builder. Like that's like because that's where all the problems are, and that's where like everything's being done, and that's where all the talent is too. So how do we kind of engage with that group like, as a whole? It's hard because they're just a bunch of small little guys.
Yeah, they're very stuck in their ways. Like they see that it works and they're like, it works. There's no need to change it. But from an efficiency standpoint, there's always stuff to change it. Like actually, for example, a builder out west, he keeps everything in filing cabinets. He's been building for, 40 years. So it's all filing cabinets. He doesn't trust computers. And on a call, he was ecstatic that estimating can be done on the computer in like 15 minutes through some sort of system rather than on paper for 4+ hours. Yeah. And it was so surprising to him. It's like there's so much out there to help you in terms of efficiency that you just have to be open-minded to.
Well, I mean, there's no time for these guys to do this because like this is part of the purchasing. There's no time to do these things. There's no time. Like we all like stuck in our jobs, no matter what industry in. I do consulting for another company, and like everyone's on board for all these ideas, but they're so busy dealing with the problems of the work that they do that there's no time left to like do something different. And so that's the biggest thing is like the only way we need to get them more builders more time. And so taking things away from them. If I want them to learn new means and methods, I have to take something. I can't teach them how to 3D print a house at the same while they're still buying everything. Like it still needs plumbing fixtures and everything. And it still needs everything else inside of it. The walls are different. Still, and the insulation, everything else is the same. Like it's just the walls are different. And so still 3D printing sinks, faucets, plumbing fixtures. I've tried all like that. Like sure, we can get there, but like still all the other problems that construction has to deal with, even if we change the way walls are built. Like we tilt them up and build them in a warehouse. And still everything has to connect in some way. And so like we have to give them more time to like figure out things. So time is just taking away.
Yeah, time is definitely a big aspect of it too, because those smaller builders, they're boots on the ground, they're hands-on building it themselves. Their schedule's packed every day. They don't have time to, like you're saying, like learn how to do those kind of things.
I work for a big architecture firm. Once or twice a month, we'd have a lunch and learn. Someone would come in, buy us lunch. They'd tell us about some new products and the thing. We sit there and eat. So, I mean, most companies have big, but like there's none of that. There's none of like that. It's like, it's up to like, it just doesn't happen.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree. Well, hey, thank you, Carl. This was excellent. Yeah. I'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Before we close out though, so where should people connect with you? Website, LinkedIn?
Probably just LinkedIn is a great way. Just find me on LinkedIn and my website too, visualpnw.com. LinkedIn is probably just just to connect with me directly is probably a great spot. If you want your house design, the website is probably the best way. But if you want to talk to me about these ideas, LinkedIn is probably the best.
Yeah. So in terms of say an investor or technical partner wants to explore a partnership, what's the best first step there?
Yeah, I mean, just a conversation, I guess. Like, yeah, like reach out. Like I'm open. I'm having conversations all the time with people and just finding kind of people, it's just building relationships. Some things click, some things don't. So it's just first, let's just talk and see where things go. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, to the audience, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and share with another builder or founder in your circle. And I'll see you in the next episode of The Intelligent Builder.